Want to welcome back Dave, back to Working Man's Call. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Always good to see you. Oh, yeah. Jerry, he preceded you, Jerry. He preceded you.
I can't
That's
remember.
it. Well, it's great. It's great to have you back, Dave. It's great. And we have some, we're going to start recording. There's a number of people asked me to record Working Man's Call. You guys are making this thing very popular. It's beyond my bandwagon, my broadband at this point. So
Well, it limits our freedom too.
yeah, well, maybe you just
Maybe it's good, right?
oh, free. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you're counting Sphera, right? You're already past Sphera.
I've been
Okay.
counting.
Okay, good.
Count on
All
that.
right, yeah, I can count on that, Jeff. I can always count on you.
No.
All right. So I want to pick up where we left off yesterday on page number 3 in the packet. And last time we gave just a very, very, very broad overview of Nizikin, and now we're getting really into Bava Kama, starting our introduction. And basically, the question we're going to be dealing with for our first introduction, even though we mentioned that there's going to be probably a couple of weeks of introductory notes we're going to be making and things we're going to be focusing on. But the first thing I want to talk about is, what is the prohibition of causing damage? What is the prohibition of causing damage? We know the Torah makes it clear that if one does cause damage, so they're responsible for the damage that they cause. But is there a prohibition of being a prohibition of being irresponsible, or a positive commandment to be responsible with your property in order to ensure that damage does not occur? So if you take a look at page number 3, the Tur assumes, the Tur is the son of the Rosh, Rabbeinu Yaakov ben Asher, and he writes, assuming that yes, there is some form of prohibition related to causing damage, and he seems to pin it on the prohibition of gezela, that just as the prohibition to steal, so too there's a prohibition of causing other forms of damage. It's almost like gezela is a binyan av. It's the overarching principle that teaches me that causing another person damage is problematic. And this is what the Tur writes in source number 1, that kishem she'asar ligno v'ligzo, just as it is prohibited to do burglary and theft, mamon chavero, to steal from your friends, kach aser lehazik mamon shalo, so too one is prohibited to cause damage to your friends. So the Rambam in source number 2 takes us even a step further. We take a look at the Rambam in source number 2, where the Rambam in the 5th chapter of Hilchos Nizkei Mamon writes the following. The Rambam writes, Behema shahaisa roeh, an animal that was being shepherded, uparsha v'nichnasa b'sados, and he separated and went into the fields, ubekaramim, and he went into the vineyards, afal pisha adayin lo hazika, even though the animal had not yet caused damage, masrin bebalea shlosha pa'amim. We warn the owner of the animal 3 times. Imlo shamar behemto, line number 5 by the underline. Imlo shamar behemto, v'lo mana milaros. If the owner does not watch his animal, he doesn't protect his animal, and does not prevent it from grazing in the vineyard or in this into this other fellow's field, yesh rishus, line number 7. There's permission, complete permission that's given lebal hasada, to the field owner, leshchot ota, to kill the animal. And you can even do a shchita keshera. You can do a proper slaughter on the animal. V'omer lebaleh, and you could say to the owner of the animal, that I think I overheard in your discussions beforehand, someone made this recommendation. So here we go. The Rambam agrees with this recommendation. You could slaughter the animal and say to the owner of the animal, Bo machru basar shalachem, here, come sell all of this. This is all your kosher meat. You can come sell all of your fresh kosher meat. Meaning like,
Invite him for dinner too.
no, it's not your meat.
Oh,
It's the
that's right.
owner of the animal, right? It's his meat, right? You can't just keep the animal, right? You can kill the animal, right? And then he could take, and then, this is all his kosher meat. So anyway, what comes out from this Rambam is right, pretty obvious and clear that, right, it's, you can, for if the animal trespassed in someone else's property, you can shoot on scene, right? The animal should have been protected properly. It should not have gone in. What? Yeah, this is presumably just a muad, yeah. So now, but continues the Rambam and he says, why is it that you're allowed to do this? Why is it that the owner of the field is allowed to take this drastic measure of mamish, kill the animal, right? If it's trespassing on its field. Mipnei she'asr lahadam lahazik, because it's prohibited for a person to cause damage to their fellow. Ulashalim mashezik, even though I'm going to pay for the damage I did. No, doesn't matter. Nevertheless, it's still prohibited to do so, right? Borrowing without permission, not okay, right? It's okay. Let him eat the tomatoes in the field. I'll pay back for the tomatoes. No, right? If he's there, you're violating Torah law, And the Rambam says, afilu, even ligrom hanezik aser, even if you are just causing damage to occur. The damage, it's not that it's a direct damage, but it's what's called grama dinazikin. You're causing damage. So we'll talk in more detail later as to what the definition of that is. But it's not even direct damage. It's indirect damage you're causing. That also is prohibited from the Torah to do. So you have over here the Torah and the Rambam making it abundantly clear that it is prohibited to cause damage to your fellow. Now, where did they get such a thing from? How do we know? For all we know from reading the Psukim in the Torah is that we know that you're not allowed to steal. And we also know that if one were to cause damage, you have to pay up for the damage that you caused. But how do you know that it's actually a prohibition from the Torah to cause damage to your fellow? Where's the pasuk in the Torah? How do we know such a thing? The Rambam's assuming it. The Torah is assuming it. So why are they making these assumptions? So if you take a look at page number 4, source number 3. We have over here the Gemara about shlichus, where there is a concept, the Torah concept, that if I want to do something and I want that action to relate back to me, I don't need to do it myself. I could appoint an agent to do it on my behalf. This is what everybody did by appointing me to be their proxy to sell the chametz prior to Pesach, and then subsequently buy it back. Is that everyone made me into their proxy to be a shliach on their behalf, and my action related back to them, like the way that the Esfand Oraisa says it is Rav Yosef Engel, is that it's like an extension of my hand. Right. When I appoint a proxy, when I appoint a shliach, it's like I'm extending my hand, like Basya, the daughter of Paro. It's like I'm extending my hand to do this action, right? Through the proxy you're hiring. It's like the mishaleach, the one who is sending the agent is extending their hand to do this activity. This is the concept of shlichus. This is brought up in the context, it's brought up in a few different Gemaras, but probably most prevalently it's brought up in the context of the Gemara in the 2nd chapter of Kiddushin, related to marriage. That technically speaking, although the Gemara doesn't recommend it, technically speaking, I don't need to be at my own chasana. I could appoint you don't have to miss any classes, okay? You get married, you don't have to miss any classes, okay? You appoint, although the Gemara doesn't recommend it, and I don't think that any wife has ever recommended it. That you could say that I want to marry a girl from New York, but I live in La Jolla, so I'm going to hire somebody that's going to go to New York, that's going to give the ring and say Harayat Mikudeshes lo to this fellow, b'tabadzo kadat Moshe v'Yisrael. I'm actually doing the kiddushin through an agent. Like the Mishnah says, totally works. Totally works. You tell it, shlucho shel adam kamoso is the language of the Gemara. That a shliach is like yourself. This is like the shliach tzibor for davening. That's the Mishnah in Brachos says. The shlucho shel adam kamoso, the shliach for the tzibor is on behalf of the congregation's behalf of the tzibor that appoints it. Okay, so the Gemara in Kiddushin, and with this we'll close for today. But the Gemara in Kiddushin then makes a caveat though that we don't. This is not there's not like there's no boundaries to this law that you could just appoint a shliach for anything. One boundary is not pointed out necessarily in the Gemara, although there's proofs from the Gemara. But one is if you have a mitzvah shebeguf, a mitzvah that you need to do on your own body, I can't rely on a shliach to do that mitzvah on my behalf, right? Put on tefillin, for example, right? I can't rely on a shliach. This is what the Tosas Rit says. I can't rely on a shliach to put on tefillin. Why? Because I need to wear tefillin, right? I can't ask someone else to wear tefillin. That wouldn't be tefillin being worn on my body. Tzitzis, I can't rely on a shliach to fulfill a mitzvah. Tzitzis, same thing. There's another caveat though. This caveat comes straight out of the Gemara is I can't appoint a shliach to do an avera. If I appoint a shliach to do an avera, then their action does not relate back to me. They're responsible for their own actions. If a shliach is appointed to do an avera, they're responsible for their own action. We're going to start in 2 minutes. They're responsible for their own actions. The Gemara gives a
So if you hire a hitman, you're not responsible.
oh, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that actually Hillel Hazaken says that is the one exception.
Oh.
Murder is the one exception to this rule of Ein Shlech Dvar Avera that I would be responsible. Shammai Hazaken, I'm sorry. Shammai Hazaken gives that as one exception. But generally speaking, everyone agrees Ein Shliach Lidvar Avera. I can't hire a proxy to do an Avera on my behalf. They're responsible for their own actions. It's not going to relate back to me. And the Gemara gives a svara for this. It's logical. Why? Because yes, I told this fellow to do something. Should he have listened to me? No. Why? Because there was another being that told him not to do it. It's called God. And the Gemara says, Divrei harav v'divrei hatam. He gives an illustration, right? If the Rebbe says to do something and the student says to do something, who are you going to listen to? Obviously, listen to the Rebbe. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everybody's Rebbe, right? And he says, don't do it. But I'm telling you to do it. Who are you going to listen to? Of course, listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't listen to me. So that's why you're responsible for your own actions. That's why we don't say that the Avera you did relates back to me. Right. No such thing. Can't use the excuse he made me do it. So look at the Gemara here. Look at the example the Gemara uses. The prime example of Ein Shlech Dvar Avera. Listen to this. It's amazing. Line number 1, page 4, source number 3. Ditnan hasholeach es be'era. I send a hot coal, b'yad cheresh shota v'katan, in the hand of someone who does not have all of their faculties to make proper decisions. They have disabilities, mental disabilities. They're a child. So then I'm pater b'dei anda v'chai b'din ishmayim. Technically, let's say he goes with this hot coal and he drops it in someone's field and it burns up the whole thing. I technically am not liable to pay the damages in Beis Din. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come after me, though. That's what the Gemara says. But then listen, Shalech biyad pikeach. If I send it in the hand of someone who does have their mental faculties and is an adult, so pikeach chayev, the one who actually dropped the coal in the field is going to be liable. V'amai. Why is that the case? Line number 4. Name a shlucho shel adam k'moso. Why don't we apply the principle of a shaliach, a messenger, is like the person who hires him, meaning it's like the extended hand. Their action relates back to me. Why don't we say that in that scenario with the hot coal that he drops it in someone's field, that all the damage he causes should relate back to me? Why don't we say such a thing? Why is it that the one who dropped the coal is responsible? Shani Hasam, it's different over there because the in shliach lidvar avera, because there's no shliach for doing a transgression. What was the transgression that the fellow violated? Causing damage to someone else, right? You follow me? So clear from this Gemara, what do we learn? That there's a prohibition of causing damage to someone else, and therefore it doesn't relate back to me.
The assumption of intention.
Yeah, no, he did it. No, he didn't. Yeah. right? You follow me?
So maybe that's my question. My question is, so if the guy knows that it's somebody that doesn't have the faculties to be able to do the job,
Right.
so you should be, it's like, you have a field and you've
Right.
got a tractor, and then you've got you tell a 10-year-old kid to go drive the tractor.
Right.
I mean, you're saying that person's absolved from any responsibility for using bad judgment.
In only in Bezdin, but they're going to be chayav in Din Shemayim. They're going to be
Why
liable.
not invest in too? You should, I mean,
So okay, that's a whole discussion. That's a whole discussion in the Gemara, yeah. But what do you see from this Gemara though? What is the Gemara calling an Avera here? Causing damage to someone else, right? You follow me? Okay, good. All right. So we'll stop here for now. What we still need to answer.
Doesn't that beg the question, why did they?
No, so
why
now
did
what
they
the
force
question,
it?
exactly, I was about to say, Jerry, very good. So now this begs the question, and what we're gonna have to get to next time is what is that Avera? Right? It's pashut and clear from the Rishonim and from the Gemara itself is what we're pointing out, that it's definitely that there's a prohibition carrying, a prohibition that is carried when you cause damage to someone else. What is that prohibition? That's what we're gonna have to come back to next time. All right, good. We'll stop here for now. Go ahead, guys.